Do not experience life with a closed mind. I always say yes. If somebody comes to me with an opportunity of any kind, or just wants to network or connect on LinkedIn for a quick 5-minute conversation, you never know where those conversations will end up going.
So, hey, I am super excited to introduce everyone to my podcast guest today, Erinn Noble. Erinn is fabulous, and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, Erinn, to everybody. Tell us who you are and what you do, what your life is like, real quickly.
Absolutely. Thanks, Cindy. And thanks so much for having me here.
Yes.
Yeah, like Cindy said, my name is Erinn Noble. I live in Bellingham, Washington. I am third generation Alaskan, and that's how Cindy and I know each other, through our business relationship in Alaska. I have been in real estate since 1999. Worn many different roles, from corporate to agent, all across the map, but primarily selling in Bellingham. Got 3 kids, 2 daughters that are now off to college, recently sold the big family home, got 1 kiddo left at home. He is a freshman in high school, will be driving here very shortly. So yeah, life is in this big shift. It's interesting times.
And that's what we were kind of talking about the other day when I saw you, is that this is a weird transitional type time for a lot of us women of a certain age. You are...
I'm 51. I'll be 52 in June. So,
okay. So, yeah. And so we were talking about how it's kind of a weird transition. You know, our kids are growing up, they're leaving the nest. We may or may not be changing careers and kind of shifting around that way. Our parents, you know, we're losing our parents, or they're aging. So there's a lot of things to deal with. On top of all that, our hormones.
Oh, don't get me started.
So it's a little crazy, but you are like a badass professional woman, real estate queen. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Like, how have you managed to position yourself all these years and still at your age, not that you're old, you're younger than I am, but still be, you know, on top of your field? Like, what are some of your tricks?
I think one of my biggest tips is to always be curious. Keep an open mind. Do not experience life with a closed mind. I always say yes. If somebody comes to me with an opportunity of any kind, or just wants to network or connect on LinkedIn for a quick 5-minute conversation, you never know where those conversations will end up going. I mean, I accepted a friend request on LinkedIn from Tamir Poleg, the founder and CEO of Real, must be 4.5 years ago. And that's where this led to me.
You didn't know who he was?
A corporate executive. I didn't know who he was at the time. I had no idea. But your path will take you so many different directions if you are always curious.
I love that. Always be curious. And you learn so much about other people. You learn, you grow, and there's always more to learn. Always.
Oh, yes. Goodness.
Teachable and open.
Absolutely. Open-minded, teachable, you know, friendly, but yes, just be open to life and open to all of this opportunity that's put in front of us. Get your head out of that hole. I know hormones can really impact that too. It's, you know, for me, I actually, you know, started menopause right during the pandemic while we were building the company. So it's like, worst timing ever. Can we put this on pause?
I mean, why not? If you got to be going through COVID and staying home, why not throw menopause in there?
Why not? Just be in hell for a while.
Yeah. So did you experience like a really hard menopausal?
I did. And I think it was because I put on quite a bit of weight. You know, I was sitting and working in Zoom meetings back to back to back, and we were working from multiple time zones, very high stress, you know, fast paced environment. So I think it kind of just pushed me over that edge and, you know, into this hormonal stage, the next hormonal stage of my life. But yeah, it was mood swings, hot flashes. I mean, just really fast progression with things. Depression, even though I was, you know, of course it was really difficult during the pandemic, and, you know, having all the kids come home all at once and being under one roof and trying to manage and navigate through that. Ultimately, I found my solution in bioidentical hormone implants.
I was just going to ask you that. So,
and that has absolutely shifted my life for the better.
Testosterone.
What was that?
Testosterone. Do you have,
Testosterone. It's
do you have
actually a
the
special
pellet?
they have a special concoction. They do all my blood work. So my implant it goes up high on your buttock.
Right.
I go in every 3 months for implants. I have to drive down to Seattle for them. We don't have a practitioner here that does it, but oh my goodness, it's incredible. And in fact, it's so great. My husband's going to go get his labs done
Yeah.
because I'm sure he's low on, he's 50, almost 58. So naturally, as the aging process occurs, you start becoming more imbalanced.
Yeah.
So for me, I absolutely found balance and started working out again, trying to get my body back to where I feel strong and happy and healthy again. So that's my short-term goal.
Good for you. Boy, and the more you work out, the more you burn through those pellets. I'm sure you know that, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I was about 50, I went in for blood work and my practitioner was like, your testosterone level is 7. Like it should.
Oh, I was at 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
were you? Yeah, you were
Yep.
even worse. Yeah. And so it made a huge difference for me to have the pellet. I'm not on it anymore. I'm kind of in that stage where I'm experimenting with not being on it to see how I respond.
You graduating?
I'm graduating because I am 55, almost 56 or so. But yeah, I'm trying to see, what I can do because they do make you a little bit swollen.
Yes.
So
I'm a little bit puffy, but it's, what I would much rather be puffy and happy and sleeping. That's the biggest thing. You sleep.
Yeah.
And not moody like this. So I feel like I'm leveled off and I'm in a good spot. I'll probably stay here for a couple of years.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned your husband because Jeff and I were just talking about that. Jeff's almost 58 as well. And so he's like, maybe I should get mine tested. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Why not? We're at that age that hormones, even for men, just get wacky.
Exactly. So, and I want to be on this journey for as long as possible. I've got some big plans ahead of us. So I want to be healthy and just honestly living my very best life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So your kids.
Yes.
So what's it like with this transition? Your daughters are out.
Really hard.
Yeah. Like, I have 4 daughters and it's hard. I mean, it's one thing when your son leaves. My son is my oldest. He's 31. It's one thing when the boy goes because
yeah. Oh yeah.
But when your girls go,
I was ready and not ready at the same time. I mean, it was just a flurry of events. So my older daughter, Portia, left to go to UW. This is just pre-pandemic. So she was super excited, got in there and close by too. So within a 2-hour drive. So that made me feel good. And I was ready for her to leave the household. I mean, trust me, 18-year-olds can just go ahead and make that transition.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit and then she moved home and everybody was back home. So we had to learn how to reintegrate with everything. She's going to be 21 here in the next couple of weeks. So, things are really good. She's in her groove now at the U and we get to see each other, pretty often. My middle daughter, that was the hard one. She left to go to Montana State. Yeah. Here just this last year as a freshman. So that's when I felt like, wow, the house felt really empty all of a sudden. I still had my son at home, but there's just a weird emptiness that I wasn't quite prepared for. And I had to relearn how to interact with my youngest because he was so used to, his sisters were always around.
Right.
So that kind of entered a very different path. And then we decided to sell the house. We lived on 15 acres and 4,000 square foot house. I mean, my goodness, just felt cavernous for us. So we sold the house, moved into an apartment in town. Another aspect to that is my husband's my father-in-law would come and live with us every summer for about 3 or 4 months. He's Dutch, so he'd make the trip over from the Netherlands and stay with us. But the past, few years, he hasn't been able to make that trip. So just felt like it was time to downsize. And so, we've been in transition mode for this past year. We sold the cars. We have 1 car now. Wow. So you walk everywhere.
You've really downsized.
Yes. But I wasn't prepared for like the mental, you're giving, it feels like, okay, I no longer have the family home. What is this new meaning of family these days and how do we all stay connected? That's my biggest component with all of this. How do we all stay, connected as a family?
Yeah. And you have to navigate that. You have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I love the whole concept of downsizing because a lot of us our age-ish are doing that. Because, we raised the kids in the huge homes and we had all the cars and now we're like, well, wait a minute, we don't need all that.
No.
And it's pretty liberating to be able to downsize.
Felt I mean, I had no idea how much crap we had.
No. Oh my gosh.
Craziness.
A lot of crap.
It felt really good to let go and just unclutter my mind, unclutter my soul, unclutter the things.
Yeah. I
have the important things, the tidbits that are around me now. Of course, I have my memories, and then I have boxes and boxes of pictures that I need to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
clutter is like an external expression of any chaos that might be going on in your life internally. It's expressed.
It really is. So I highly recommend going through the process and just start the process now. Even if it's 5 years away from now, a box a week, a box a month would be.
That's really good advice, actually. Yeah. Because to do it all at once can be super overwhelming.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about one thing when I've talked to women, friends of mine and women in this life age, in this range, we all seem to have one thing in common, that we've been through a triggering life event, something that happened to us, it's different for everybody, that caused us to sort of reevaluate, change, grow, and emerge even stronger. Did you have any sort of event, anything that happened that you want to share?
I feel like, when is life not an event? I mean, life throws curveballs. I was not prepared for how difficult life can be. I, went through a really difficult divorce many years ago, and, kept going back to court and and just felt like I just could not unspool a lot of this. And I had to internalize things because I really didn't want my children to be aware of kind of how awful things had become, with their father. So that was a really difficult time, just honestly, life can just be tough. I feel like I've kind of had to start from the ground floor many different times and just reinvent myself. But honestly, there's always a better path out there. And I truly am a believer in the universe will provide. I have no problem jumping because, quite honestly, I've always landed on my feet, and I've always had a better outcome for it. So it's trusting that process, and I know it and I believe it and I trust it.
Yeah, we've all made it through 100% of every challenge we've ever been given, right?
Exactly, we have.
Here we are. But divorce can be an especially depressing and debilitating situation. It can really, especially if it's long and drawn out and very difficult, like yours was. And
3 years.
Yeah. That can really, really play with your mind and mess you up.
And I was pretty messed up. And this was back in my early 40s when we were going through the process. And I was not prepared for this. I had made some choices that ultimately I suffer from. I wanted to have 50-50 shared custody with the kids, to force my partner to, be more of a present parent. And I've regretted that every day ever since, because decisions got overrode. I mean, the devil's in the details there. I'm not here to bash anyone. It was just a choice that I made, that I own, that I regret. But I also understand I cannot live in the past. And ultimately, the kids got to be around their father equally, an equal amount of time. And
that's important.
It's for the best.
Yeah, that's important. I love that you own it. You're owning the decisions that you've made, because some of us don't do that. And
right.
It's easy to blame. So I love your spirit and your attitude that, you own your own shit. Right.
Oh yeah. I haven't always, trust me. This is, a woman in her 50s now.
Yeah. Well, if you've made it to your 50s and you've raised kids and, all that, you are kind of a powerhouse. I mean, we bring with us a lot of experience, and then something happens in our 50s, at least I think, that we just kind of get wise.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And it's not like it just happened one day. It just felt like I woke up to it. It just, I feel more settled in and grounded.
Yeah.
I feel less body conscious. I'm embracing aging. I feel like I'm aging well and I want to preserve that too.
You are, you're gorgeous. You are aging very, very well.
Well, look at yourself. I mean, goodness. But it's also about, taking care of myself and then I think that's what it is. It's having a little bit more time to actually turn inward and invest back into myself.
Mhm.
I'm a caretaker.
Oh, are
I love
you?
taking care. Oh, I'm a caretaker. I love making lunches for the kids in the morning and breakfast and sending them off to school. And oh, absolutely.
Is
The
that your
caretaker,
love language? Are you like your love language? Are you like an acts of service girl?
an act of service, and I love presents.
You love, oh, I'll remember
I
that.
totally love presents.
So, well, that's fun.
Like presents and surprises, thoughtful things that
Oh,
somebody,
really?
oh my goodness. No, I love surprises and presents. So that's definitely in the love language. But yeah, spending time with people and acts of service.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my language.
So would you say what's on the horizon for you? Like, do you have any like fun adventures planned? Like what's next for you? Because you've had so much success in your real estate career, so much.
Mhm.
I mean, you guys who are listening, you don't know, Erinn downplays it, but Erinn's like a big deal in the real estate world. She's extremely successful and very, very well respected.
Thank you so much.
What's next for you guys?
Well, we dream big. So when I met my husband, Peter, gosh, we're close to our 10th year anniversary now.
Yeah.
We had a ton in common. We just fell in love immediately. And he had spent 20 years at Microsoft, very cerebral person.
He is very cerebral.
So we just counter off each other so well because I'm super silly and goofy, and he is too.
Yeah.
But he's Dutch, so he's his own unique self.
Very matter of fact, straight to the point.
Very much.
No BS.
Absolutely no BS. But he can be a goofball too. But we both have a passion for the water, and I've always lived near the ocean, growing, Alaska or here, Seattle. So I just have a thing for the water, and he did too. He absolutely loved fishing. So we thought, okay, well, we decided, okay, we're going to buy a boat together. So we bought a 30-foot boat and would go out to the islands all the time here and go crabbing and fishing and go up to Alaska and go fishing. And then we started thinking, gosh, what are we going to do? What's our big life goal? I don't really want to retire completely.
Yeah.
I love working. I love helping other people. I still love being in the real estate industry and community. But with the world these days, you can just do that from anywhere. So we just thought, why don't we go bigger? Like, why don't we buy a bigger boat that can go offshore? And then we took a trip to Sydney, Australia a few years ago and absolutely fell in love with Australia and the people there. You know what? If we bought a big enough boat, we could circumnavigate and chase the sun and hang out on the globe with the people that we want to be around in the sun. Notice I'm saying sun multiple times, right?
Yeah.
The sun.
Yeah.
And
you live in Washington, so there's a reason why you're saying the sun. Grew up in Alaska, you live in Washington, and
it's March.
Yeah,
So
March.
Wait. Exactly. So ultimately our goal, which we are on track for, is to build a new Nordhaven 76-foot. It's a mini ship, essentially.
Yeah, no kidding.
And once the youngest graduates, we are going to take off and chase the sun and keep working.
Amazing. And so I guess you guys don't get seasick.
We do, but yeah, we do. There's definitely many different ways to manage it as well. But the beautiful thing with this Nordhaven is that it's got stabilizers, so you're not all over the place, and it's a very, very stable watercraft.
Oh, wow. That sounds super fun. You really don't hear a lot of people actually doing it. You read about stories, people who just have that adventure spirit and they take off, but you guys are doing it.
We're absolutely doing it. I mean, this is our big why right now. We have some very specific goals. We're both working hard towards them. I mean, we've got our, our whole Nordhaven boat room. We're surrounding ourselves with, pictures and, everything to keep us motivated, but it's absolutely what we want to do. So we want to be as healthy as possible to, pursue that as well and have a good 10-year run on the boat.
Awesome. So you're kind of manifesting this into being, and I'm assuming you're like a fan of manifestation and.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I used to think it was just BS, because I grew up in a super religious environment, and if God doesn't want you to have it, you won't have it type of mentality.
Yeah, I do not believe in that.
Right. So I've kind of evolved to where yes. I really do believe that what you put out there is what you will attract back to you.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Absolutely.
The universal principle. So you guys are manifesting this life in front of you.
We really feel, whether it's universe or God or whatever you believe in, I believe that whoever it is or whatever it is, that entity wants you to live your best life and be the best person you can be. So this is our path.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're just a few years away.
Yeah. So you're going to have to like do a blog or a podcast or something to kind of document your journey.
We definitely will. There's a lot of people that have done this. They're typically, a little bit older than us. They retire at, retirement age, 66, 67, 65, anywhere in there, and then go for quite a while. Unfortunately, people run into health issues at that age too.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
For us, it's like, let's do it now. Let's press the go button. But we'll have our own YouTube channel and podcast.
Oh, that's cool. Oh,
we'll be documenting the build process too. And, how we chose the boat and, all of the design details, all of the fun stuff too.
Oh, that's super cool. So I bet there's a huge subculture of people doing this, right? Like
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Live aboard lifestyle, trawlers, even, sailboat owners, but there is this underground world of people that live on the ocean and love the ocean. They live very simply. They eat from the ocean. They all travel together. A lot of times they meet up around different places in the world, and they get to know each other and develop deep personal relationships.
I bet. So how do you get your exercise in on the boat?
Good question. Well, on this boat, we'll have enough space. And, with the advent of all these new cool tools like the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll be doing something like the mirror. We'll probably have an exercise bike as well. And then right now we're learning a lot of body weight exercises that we can be doing. So instead of, we have a membership to the gym right now, but our trainer is really teaching us to, work with our body weight and planking. All of that. But yeah, we definitely will need to keep fit and strong for the boat because, we'll be having to dive and check the propellers and
oh, wow. Okay.
all sorts of fun stuff. We'll need to be very active.
That sounds so fascinating. I don't know if I could do it because I have severe seasickness.
Oh, well, you have to join us at the docks then. You'll just have to fly in.
Let me hit the dock with a bottle of wine. Hey,
exactly. There you go. And a cheese plate.
Yeah. And, oh my God. I love cheese.
Oh, me too. And bread.
Oh, bread is life.
Bread is life. I have probably an addiction to bread. I always have. Yes.
I know. And I have given it up in the past few months, actually, not entirely, but I have really cut way back. And I do notice a difference. I feel better. I look better. Mm-hmm. But it's so yummy.
It really is. I know. I'm trying to cut back on things right now so I can lean out. And it's just, it's so hard.
It's harder as we get older. It's really harder it's true. It's just harder to take weight off.
It is.
It can be done. But it's more difficult.
Yeah, it used to be, 2 weeks, I'll lose 10 pounds. I'm great. Now it's give me 2 years and maybe I'll lose 10
I know. I remember several years ago, if I wanted a flat tummy the next day, I just wouldn't eat that day.
Right.
And then the next day I'd wake up with a super flat tummy.
Yes.
Like that had happened now. No. So to wrap this up, I wanted to know because a lot of people ask me, should I get into real estate? And I'm like, maybe. So what would you say to a woman who is reinventing herself, right, at this age? Do you think going into real estate would be a good choice for her, and why? What would you say?
Gosh, I mean, I can only look back on my path in real estate, and it's been such a terrific career for me. My primary source of business has been through my kids' friends in the school district.
Yeah.
So that was my sphere of influence, and I developed that very deeply and just got referrals all the time. So I would ask yourself, if you're transitioning out of a different career, really do some self-reflection on, what your potential sphere could be and how you can harness the power of that. I know you've done that very successfully as well, Cindy. But, if you look like a lot of, dynamic change in your life, because no single transaction is ever the same,
Ever.
which I personally love, because I love change and I love to learn. And I think I learned something every single time I help somebody buy or sell a house. So if you are open to challenges and are open to not working just 9 to 5, and open to making a really great source of income with the flexibility, I would definitely consider it.
Yeah, I think that it has been a great career move for me. I made that move later in life, and it can be stressful. And I'm honest with people, it can be very stressful. It's because you have to be on,
You do.
and meet your clients where they're at. You have to be a people person. You have to really love help.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And there's so many different tools and techniques and strategies that you can implement in this day and age to help just optimize the experience. But ultimately, it's always be learning. You are going to be the professional. You need to be the go-to professional for things. Keep an open mind and enjoy the process, because it's super rewarding and really fun.
Yeah, I love it. So that's kind of like your life mantra, that always be learning, always be curious.
Yes.
And keep an open mind.
Absolutely. I want to keep this nickel working for as long as possible up here.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And you're a guest on a lot of different podcasts. You have been lately, right?
Yeah, I get invited, a few times here and there.
Okay. Well, thank you.
It's fun. I always love doing them. Thank you so much for
thank you for
having me
coming
here.
This was Erinn Noble, and
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. That's right. Thanks, girl.
Thanks, Cindy.